Good afternoon all. I'd like to welcome everyone to this hybrid meeting of the Adults and Communities Overview and Scrutiny Committee, which is open to the press and public. The meeting is being broadcast live and a recording of this meeting will be made available as soon as possible after the meeting has concluded. We welcome the use of the Welsh language at meetings. I've had no request for people to speak Welsh today, so this meeting will be conducted in English only. Please can members refrain from using the chat function and instead use the raised hand icon to indicate when you want to speak. And please remember to keep your microphone muted when you are not talking. Please do not interrupt discussions until you have notified of your intention to speak and you have been invited to do so. Okay, moving on to the agenda. Agenda item 1. Firstly, may I welcome all members, executive members and officers to the meeting, and good afternoon to everyone. And Niall, do we have any apologies, please?
Yeah, afternoon, Chair. We have apologies from Councillors Joanne Gordon, Gaynor James, Peter Jones and Stephen Evans. Okay,
thank you very much. Item 2, declarations of interest. Members, could I ask if any of you should have any declarations of interest in relation to today's reports, that you declare them now, or if they arise during discussions, please indicate at that point. Thank you. No hands up, so take that as no declarations. Item 3, minutes. Members, can I ask whether you have anything to raise in relation to the minutes of the last meeting? If not, can we agree these as approved, please? Okay, thank you very much. Item 4, the action sheet. Rebecca, could you please update members on any actions outstanding?
Thank you, Chair. As members will see from the action sheet, there are no actions that are outstanding from the last meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Rebecca. Item 5, update on progress of recommendations. If I can hand over to Rebecca to introduce the update on recommendations report, please.
Thank you, Chair, and good afternoon, members. So you have before you the update report setting out the progress and impact of accepted recommendations. Since May 2025, the Adults and Communities Overview and Scrutiny Committee has made numerous recommendations, a high proportion of which have been accepted or considered for adoption by the Executive. It is sensible to reflect on to what extent recommendations made have been embedded and acted as a catalyst for delivering service improvement. Please note that any recommendations that were rejected at the time of responding have already been removed from this monitor. The strategic directors and heads of services and exec members are in attendance today for any questions on progress you may have. Also, to ensure the impact of scrutiny is properly evaluated, a summary of impact has been produced by service areas against each of the scrutiny items, defining what impact was seen from the scrutiny committee's activity at the time. Please note, can I stress that you are not here to scrutinise these items today, but to determine whether you are satisfied with progress in actioning your recommendations. If you are satisfied that the recommendations have been actioned appropriately, it may be that you recommend to remove those from further monitoring. However, if you are not satisfied with progress, then they will remain on the monitor for further updates annually. The updates run from May 2025 last year to March 2026. We haven't included the updates on the recommendations from the last meeting, as it's too short a time period to reflect on that progress from that meeting, but they will be considered in the next update report. So the updates in front of you today are for the 3rd of April 2025, which is flow through the system. Then you have the September meeting, which was the IAA flow through the system. The November meeting was supplementary chapter libraries, and then community safety in January and 3rd sector major grants review. So if I can hand back to the Chair now, and he can take you through each one of those updates, and you can ask officers any questions you may have. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, members. Obviously, the first one on the 3rd of April 2025 was flow through the system. Are there any questions on that, please? No. Oh, sorry, Councillor Williams.
Sorry, thank you. Yeah, I think recommendation 2 was that it was raised at the RPB meeting in June, and I seem to recall that it was. So it's just sort of for clarification and finalisation.
Daniel, Oh, you were confirming, sorry. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Members, are you satisfied with the progress on implementing these recommendations, or do you propose we continue to monitor progress at this stage? Okay, thank you very much. We move on to the next one, which was dated the 18th of September 2025, the IAA flow through the system. Have we any queries on this, please? Councillor David Williams.
Yeah, I think that was obviously a natural follow-on to the previous report. I think it was only looking at the bottom recommendation 6, which was accepted recommendation, but officers will look to source funding to support additional training as part of redesign. So it's really just to ask if there's been any progress in relation to that, because obviously acceptance of the recommendation and putting it into practice in terms of getting funding are two different things. Apologies.
Okay. Thank you, Councillor. Yeah, I can confirm that the training was commissioned and has been delivered in terms of the change management process. So all senior leaders, team leaders and assistant team leaders have gone through a change management impact training session, and further training is then to roll out now as part of the redesign as that now progresses.
Thank you very much. I think that provides a very helpful clarification.
Thank you, Councillor Williams. So members, are you satisfied with the progress on implementing these recommendations, or do you propose we continue to monitor progress at this stage? Okay, okay. Move on to the next one, which was on the 13th of November 2025, supplementary chapter libraries. Any queries on these, please?
Thank you, Chair.
Councillor Horner.
Could we have an indication on how much, when the progress on recommendation 2 and 4 actually going to be completed?
So in terms of recommendation 2, there is an intention to prepare a communication plan. That's not quite done, but that would be developed, I would expect, by the end of the summer. So if we said by the end of August, and there will be live examples that we can draw. For example, part of the survey feedback was around having provision for beverages within Cwmbran Library. So we're looking to introduce a sort of barista sort of card linked to some of our employability funding. So that's one example, and we'll link it in there. And then bear with, scroll down, and recommendation 4, yeah. And again, I think this is one that needs to be picked up, so we haven't specifically addressed that one yet, so that needs to be picked up. Okay.
So I'm fully aware on social media we've been talking about the Cwmbran and the feedback that we've had there. There's been some negative feedback on the idea that you want to put a cafe in there. How do you feel about that?
Sorry, can I just come in there? Sorry, you're straying into scrutinising new information here. Sorry, Councillor Horner. I'm sure Beth would be happy to fill you in after.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Horner. So members, are you satisfied with the progress, or do you propose we continue to monitor progress at this stage? Councillor Horner.
Thank you. Recommendation 4, can we still look at that in a bigger way, please? Thank you, because of the neurodivergency side of it. I think it's important. Thank you.
Please, Councillor Williams.
Just to second that, really, I think it would be helpful, doesn't to scrutinise, but it would be useful to have a report to reflect when activity has taken place, so that all members are aware of any new and changed provision.
So can I clarify then, members, in terms of this set of recommendations, are you happy to remove the others and just leave recommendation 4 on there for further monitoring? Is that okay?
Okay, thank you. Moving on to the next one, which was on the 22nd of January 2026, community safety. Any queries on this one, please? Oh, sorry, Councillor Hall.
Just looking through what's been processed and what's been actioned, it just seems very slim that nothing's really been actioned on this policy. Isn't that what I'm reading? Recommendation 3 and recommendation 1 haven't been, and there's nothing on recommendation 2.
So in terms of the mapping, that is in progress. So it's not that it hasn't been actioned, it is in progress. And I know the community capacity team are building a consolidated list of all activities that extends beyond community safety, but it'll incorporate that. And that is nearing completion. They're just doing some work with TVA to make sure it's a single list. Yeah, so recommendation 2 we didn't accept, I think.
Sorry, you didn't.
Yeah. Yeah.
If I can just come in briefly as well, Councillor. The updates that have been given on these show that some of this activity will always be ongoing. So there's a decision for members to make as to whether you want to close the action and perhaps re-invite it for scrutiny to check whether the ongoing activity has been implemented or not. So if we look at recommendation 3, the reason that that's still flagged as in process of being actioned is that whilst the measures that needed to take place after the scrutiny have taken place, the outcomes and the impacts of that haven't yet fully flowed through. So just worth considering, because I think there's differences of interpretation as to when someone said completed and someone said in progress.
Yeah, and to follow on from Dave's comments, obviously you may be satisfied to remove the specific responses to recommendations from your monitoring, but that doesn't take away the fact that you could select items again in your visioning for future years. So it won't take away your ability to scrutinise those items further again.
Okay, any more? No? No? Okay, move on to the next one, which was on the 19th of March 2026. Third sector major grants review. Any queries on these, please, members? Councillor Williams.
Just to note that there didn't appear to be a response to recommendation 1 on the table. There's ticks to 2 and 3, sorry, on page 32 of the pack. I'm sure it's merely an oversight.
So I think that's a tick, yeah. Sorry, that's it.
And the tick was probably meant to go one down.
Yeah.
But just needed to clarify that. Yeah, I suppose observation is that so many of us had to declare an interest that scrutiny was a bit limited, so I think we need to consider how best to frame this so that we can have some decent scrutiny without us jumping off the meeting as 4 of us had to do.
Yeah, and again, considering that as a committee, you may determine next time that it may be more appropriate for cross-cutting or something where there are more members available to scrutinise something that is so overarching in nature.
Okay, thank you. I'd like to thank the members and the officers for the involvement there, and I move on to the next agenda item 6, which is update report. Progress against adopted action plan. So, Rebecca, can I ask you to introduce this report to members, please?
Thank you, Chair. So once again, this is an update report setting out progress against adopted action plans from external regulators. The Council's assurance processes require each relevant overview and scrutiny committee to receive an annual progress update against proposals for improvement and recommendations received from our external auditors, such as Audit Wales and CIW. Following scrutiny, recommendations and other comments made by yourselves as a committee relating to these updates will then be reported back to the Governance and Audit Committee to fulfil those assurance purposes. We ask that as a committee you ensure that you are satisfied that appropriate progress has been made towards external regulators' proposals for improvement, and if you are not, to challenge the officer's presence as to the reasons for insufficient progress. Equally, should you decide appropriate progress has been made and all proposals actioned suitably, as a committee you could agree to remove them from further annual monitoring. Can I please also again remind members that you're not here to scrutinise these items of themselves today. And also, as I previously mentioned, can I assure members that the removal of any of these referrals from the annual monitoring report will not exclude these from further scrutiny should you decide to select them in your work programme exercise following this meeting. There are 4 sets of updates contained within the appendix. There is the digital strategy review, urgent and emergency care, flow out of hospital, leisure services and Torvine learning disability services. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Rebecca. Thank you, members. I now invite you to ask officers any questions on a set of updates contained in Appendix 1, starting off with number 1, digital strategy review. So, have we got any questions on that, please? Councillor Williams.
Thank you, Chair. It was interesting to see in the update that the Council is delivering a groundbreaking leadership programme open to all those who want to become leaders, etc. Just keen to, or interested to know what that comprises, what the take-up has been. Is this open to members or is it still a staff-only process? I think those are reasonable questions to ask.
Yes, I can come in there, Councillor. Take-up has been very good. We intended to have one programme of AI leadership drawn from the cohort of what we call future BGT, so essentially team leaders and above. We've ended up having to put on an extra cohort because the demand was so high for the programme. In terms of what the programme actually involves and entails, it supports officers who are thinking differently around the way that they're designing and delivering their services. So it's not just about using AI as a personal productivity tool. It's about how do we use the systems and the processes we've already got in place, Copilot, Copilot agents, that type of software, to actually help us think differently in the way that we design services, to challenge our own thinking when we're starting to make some of those decisions. So what the programme does is it's very hands-on. It presents the challenge or the area of learning, say that's challenging your own decision making. It will present that and give some context to it, led really ably by colleagues in SRS, and then we'll workshop live with the computers there a session where you build the either Copilot response or the agent to address that particular challenge that you've got. So it may be how do I improve storytelling, and the workshop session will focus on how to design the videos and the graphics that you may need to tell a story in a clearer way. So it's very, very hands-on. In terms of the final question, at the minute the programme is for officers in that space. We're looking, and we're always looking at how we deliver activity across the system. So there's a conversation I think for us to have as a joint exec team as to how we would resource potentially rolling this out across the system, but that's something we need to consider and speak to partners about.
Yes,
thank you for that. I think because AI is such a current topic, I think it's something we need to consider in scrutiny, and whether that's something in terms of member seminar update, whether that's in terms of a specific scrutiny item and which area it would fall under. I would just like to reiterate that it would be helpful that member involvement is considered going forward in this space. Is that fair enough?
Yeah, okay, thank you, Councillor Williams. So members, are you satisfied with the progress made in action in the recommendations, or do you propose we continue to monitor progress at this stage? Yep. Okay, good. Item 2, urgent and emergency care, flow out of hospital. Any questions on this, please, members? Councillor Williams.
Thank you for this. I think this is bound to be something that comes up on a fairly regular basis, and I'm also conscious that this will fall into the realm of the RPB, as Councillor Daniels will be aware, and I should declare a personal interest, given that I have a parent in hospital who is awaiting discharge, but I'm interested to know whether there has been further development of a 7-day-week opportunity for discharge, because I haven't seen it as being evident. I'm conscious of this strays into personal territory, and I'm quite happy for this not to be discussed in committee, but maybe something to be noting, and I can perhaps pick that up outside of the meeting. Is that fair enough?
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Thank you, Councillor Williams. So, members, are you satisfied with the progress made in action in the recommendations, or do you propose we continue to monitor progress at this stage? All satisfied? Oh. Sorry, Councillor Clarkson.
Hi, yeah, I just wondered whether we wanted to consider keeping this to monitor, with it being such an important sort of topic, so that we can just. It's another one that's not got an end date. It's a continual programme, and again, as Councillor Williams has pointed out, it's very much in topic. So I just wondered whether we want to keep this one on, specifically around that point for monitoring going forward. What other people think?
Happy to support that, Chair.
Okay. David?
I definitely think it's worth continuing to monitor, but I think there's an opportunity potentially to go further than that. And in our visioning pack, I think we can probably itemise flow in and out of hospital as a distinct component within visioning, so that you can consider it as part of your visioning activities as well. That would require a partnership-based scrutiny, and that's some of what we may be discussing when we get on to visioning as well.
Okay, thank you. Thank you all. Item 4, Torvine Learning Disability Services. Are there any queries on this, please? This one, all right. I do apologise.
Sorry, yeah. It's temporary accommodation, long-term crisis, members.
Councillor Williams?
Yeah, thank you, Chair. I just note that at 3, the update was indicating that the work of the Strategic Housing Partnership was continuing to be involved. The planned report to scrutiny was not progressed due to changing council priorities. So I think this is something that we should be mindful of to pick up when we get to visioning, would be my suggestion, because then we'll have a better picture of whether this is actually being addressed effectively as possible.
I think it's one of the items as well that we've put forward on that same basis as well.
Right.
So in terms of the update reports, do you still want those to stay on there for another year, or are you happy that they have been addressed and you're happy to take
I
that
would be happy. I think they will be addressed once we have the scrutiny meeting.
Okay, thank you. Move on to the next one, which is leisure services. Any queries, members? Okay, thank you very much. We'll move on now to item 5, Torvine Learning Disability Services. Have we got any queries on this, please, members? Councillor Williams?
Yeah, apologies, Chair. Some similar comments as before, because obviously the update response indicates some activity that is still to take place, like the training workshop for practitioners, recording the voice of the person on documentation being planned for autumn 26. So I think we couldn't really cease this one until all the actions have taken place. So I would suggest it stays on the monitor, but I'd welcome obviously any update that officers are able to give.
Thank you, Councillor. Yeah, so this was obviously updated at the beginning of this financial year, so progress has taken place since. And also to give some other assurances, CIW will be coming back into Torvine within the next couple of months to monitor progress in relation to these actions as well. So in terms of the specific actions, that I can assure members that all of those actions have been taken forward now and have been concluded. So we will be more than happy to provide an updated action plan in relation to those. The other thing that I will notice is the note that in terms of progress action 2, where it talks about deprivation of liberty of adults. There has been a significant change in legislation, which actually now changes that action. So again, when you get the revised action plan back into scrutiny, you will see that that action has now been completed, albeit being completed as a result of a change within the legal system.
Okay, Councillor Wynne.
So personally, I would be satisfied that action is going forward, that we could take this off and pick it up in our own scrutiny programme and reporting. But I don't know what other members think.
Yeah. All members agree with that? Yep. Okay, thank you very much. Agenda item 7. The next formal meeting of the adult communities will take place on Thursday, the 10th of September at 10 a.m. Members, can I please remind you that the visioning session to determine the committee's work programme for the year ahead is taking place straight after this meeting has concluded. So thank you for all attending the first meeting. I now close this part of the meeting.